Muy buenos días para todos. Estamos dando unos minutos para que las personas que nos van a acompañar se terminen de conectar y damos inicio a la sesión. Estimados y estimadas, muy buenos días. Mi nombre es Daniela González, profesional de redes universitarias de la Asociación Colombiana de Universidades y apoyo la coordinación del proyecto Mimir Andino. En nombre de la asociación, me permito dar la bienvenida a nuestro café Políticas de Patentes y Transferencia Tecnológica. Bueno, Mimir Andino, modernización para la gestión institucional de la investigación y la innovación en la región andina y América Latina, es un proyecto cofinanciado por la Unión Europea en el marco de los proyectos Erasmus Plus de desarrollo de capacidades de la educación superior. Este es un proyecto de 4 años que inició en el 2018 con la participación de 20 instituciones de educación superior, agencias de calidad, organismos de ciencia, tecnología e innovación y ministerios de educación de 6 países: Colombia, Chile, Perú, España, Italia y Suecia, cuyo producto será la generación de un modelo de gestión de la investigación y la innovación que ofrecerá herramientas de gestión aplicables a la diversidad de instituciones y países. Hoy llegamos a la quinta sesión de los Cafés Mimir Andino como estrategias para la promoción de la investigación y la innovación en las universidades, y queremos darle la bienvenida y agradecer por la participación de la doctora María Zaira Turchi, directora de Cooperación Institucional del Consejo Nacional de Investigación de Brasil, y al doctor Ilja Rudik, presidente del Consejo, perdón, economista senior de la Oficina Europea de Patentes. También nos acompaña el día de hoy el doctor Arnaldo Helves, director de innovación de la Universidad del Biobío de Chile. Bienvenidos a todos. Esperamos que esta sesión sea muy enriquecedora para las universidades y le cedo la palabra al doctor Arnaldo.
Muchas gracias, Daniela. Bien, quiero saludar en primer lugar a nuestra gran audiencia. Tenemos colegas de Brasil, Colombia, Alemania, México, Perú y Chile. Así es que bienvenidos a todos. Agradecer la invitación y a Daniela en representación de ASCUN por todo este trabajo logístico, y naturalmente que es una gran oportunidad para aprovechar la experiencia, ¿no es cierto?, de estos dos grandes expertos de variadas regiones, y naturalmente a mí me toca la parte de moderar y orientar esta conversación. Yo quiero hacer primero algunos elementos de contexto, junto con también agradecer a todo el equipo de nuestra Universidad del Biobío que nos acompaña, recordar algunos temas en los cuales va a versar básicamente lo que nuestros expertos van a comentar. Yo quiero solo recordar qué es la transferencia tecnológica, ¿no es cierto?, como parte del proceso de innovación tecnológica, y que justamente une la investigación que se desarrolla en centros y universidades generadoras del conocimiento con las necesidades de la sociedad. Algunos datos solamente de interés, dada la audiencia que tenemos. Chile gasta hoy día en I+D un 0,4% del PIB, y en países de la OCDE esto está alrededor en promedio del 2,4%. Hay dos cosas relevantes que quiero destacar en nuestro país. Es la reciente formación del Ministerio de Ciencia, Tecnología, Conocimiento e Innovación, y una de las formas de aportar en estos temas, esto viene más o menos del año 2012, cuando Corfo en Chile apoya forma y fomenta a las llamadas oficinas de transferencia y licenciamiento, que básicamente, ¿no es cierto?, tiene como misión hacer el proceso de la transferencia. Hoy día en Chile son, y en el mundo, ¿no es cierto?, temas relevantes como la equidad de género y el impacto territorial. También existe una ley en Chile de incentivo tributario a los emprendimientos de base tecnológica, y la verdad es que enfrentamos una serie de situaciones muy diversas a raíz de la pandemia. Naturalmente hay una preocupación, una incertidumbre que genera cambios y va a generar cambios permanentes. Pero yo quiero dejar eso en manos de nuestros panelistas para después hacer preguntas hacia ellos, orientarlos y después, además, vamos a tener tiempo para poder responder a consultas de la audiencia a través del chat. Así que aprovecho de recordarles de que, por favor, vayan haciendo sus preguntas a través del chat. En primer lugar, quiero presentar a la doctora María Zaira Turchi y le agradecería a María Zaira que inicie su presentación.
Yes, I would like, yes, thank you very much. Buenos dias. I'm sorry, I'm going to speak in English because I don't speak Spanish well. I would be Portuñol. So I excuse myself, but I'm speaking English. And I would like to thank the organizers of this project for the invitation made to Professor Evaldo Vilela, who the president of the National Council, SNPQ, who unfortunately could not attend, and who very much regrets, but it's a pleasure for me to represent here Professor Evaldo Vilela and SNPQ. I would also like to point out that my reflections concern the technological aspects involved with the issue of intellectual property, and not intending to go into the economic aspects and the strategic and commercial opportunities, although they are very important. In this way, I will try to focus on the two main actors of technological innovation, which are universities and companies, and their relationship with intellectual properties, intellectual protection, in particular patents. Encouraging South America universities to better understand and properly focus on the management of scientific and technological research towards innovation, accompanied by evaluation, is crucial and urgent for the success of these universities in the midst of so many transformations in contemporary society. Models that incorporate research management for national and regional development make a lot of sense and are pursued throughout the world. In this context, the patent and technological transfer policy has a special emphasis which must coexist with the general thinking of the university, that is, expand the frontiers of knowledge with a view to improving the condition of life for humanity. One of the main challenges for universities is how, can you hear me? It's fine? Yes? Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So as I was saying, one of the main challenges for universities is how to live with business thinking and its times which are different both in nature and dimension. Understanding these differences and better understanding their logic is fundamental for the cooperation work between these two central actors of the national science, technology, and innovation systems. In this context, the development agencies for ST&I and the figure of facilitators or intermediaries, such as innovation agencies, in Brazilian case, the Technological Innovation Nucleus, NITS, occupy prominent roles. The latter are structures that are established the universities, but with a format and practice compatible with the business environment in such a way that such structures play the role of translators between these two actors, making neither of them feel threatened with this approximation, and so start to accept and foster cooperation between them, increasing the possibilities of future convergence of actions and interests, generating a positive environment where patents are inserted as one of the instruments of intellectual protection. An adequate intellectual protection policy must consider the different forms of this protection, as well as the appropriate moment of its use, taking into account the complete innovation cycle. In this context, one can count on an important tool, the TRLs, technology readiness levels, which are the scale that seeks to measure the level of maturity of a technological development from its initial conception to its point of full maturation. Now, this concept is very well known, was conceived at NASA, and now we consider 9 levels, so I'm not going to go through this, but this scale offer of these two environments, universities and companies, conditions to have a greater approximation and a common understanding of their specificities and how they can work in a convergent way. By looking over the concepts that describe each of the TRLs, it is possible to see what is clearly, yes? Yes, excuse, I'm sorry. Yes, so I'm going slowly. By looking over the concepts that describe each of the TRLs, it is possible to see what is clearly compatible with the university environment, usually TRLs from 1 to 4, and what is characteristic of the business environment, TRLs from 7 to 9. This scale, among other tools, offers an adequate way to understand the different moments for the different forms of intellectual protection to be considered in the development stage of the innovation enterprise. This analysis makes it possible to adopt the most appropriate form of intellectual protection for each phase of development, mainly avoiding the patenting of phases that are not yet mature for this. Therefore, it is worth mentioning the role of the innovation promotion agencies, which operate precisely at the university company interface together with the facilitators, ideally in the TRL phases from 4 to 7, using the instruments to stimulate innovation that each country has in its legal set of incentives to innovation. It is important to reinforce that I am focusing only on the aspects related to the technological component of development, but the economic and strategic analysis being equally important. Those meet other logics, making the decision of the patent of some innovation more complex and multifaceted, as it must always be associated with well-established business models and clear and detailed benefit models. Without these components, one should not go ahead with patenting. I hope I'm trying to go slowly yet, even slowlier, but I think I'm helping. Thank you very much. So in this way, it can be summarized. First, innovation must be associated with business models and benefit models, without which patents should not be pursued. Create and capture value. This is the commandment for innovation. Second, universities and companies are different worlds that converge through facilitators who know how to convert languages and logics into an understanding interface. Third, from a technological point of view, intellectual protection must consider patents from TRLs 7 to 8, taking into account that universities reach up to TRL 4, there is a great deal of space for intermediaries, facilitators, agencies, specific nucleus for this. In Brazilian case, in the universities, needs are very important, this nucleus for innovation, and development agencies to act to innovation with the use of laws of incentive to encourage the participation of companies in the transition from TRLs 5 and 6. This is the appropriate space to encourage collaboration, communication, and improvements in the governance of universities so that they operate in propitious collaboration with companies. Examples of innovation incentives laws in Brazil, we have what we call Lei do Bem for internet, for TI, and a national strategy for industrial property, and also national innovation policy. So laws, adequate laws are also very important to promote this collaboration between university and companies, and to develop transfer technology and innovation. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, doctora Turchi. Naturalmente aborda varios aspectos que nosotros vivimos a diario, quienes justamente tratamos de innovar, ¿no es cierto?, y transferir tecnología, especialmente en esta relación con las empresas, pero voy a referirme posteriormente a eso con mayor detalle. Les voy a hacer preguntas más específicas, y ahora me gustaría con mucho gusto presentar, ¿no es cierto?, nuestro segundo experto, el doctor Ilya Radic, economista senior, ¿no es cierto?, de la Oficina de Patentes en Europa. Así es que bienvenido, Ilya.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arnaldo. I hope everyone can hear me. So very warm welcome also from my side, and many thanks for having me here and inviting. As you have already heard, I am not working at the university and I'm not part of a technology knowledge or transfer office. However, I'm an economist working for an office that takes care of patents, in particular patent examination, and making sure that high quality patents and services are provided to the public. And therefore, I think it's important that I first make a connection between my role, or the role of my organization, which is the European Patent Office, and universities. And I would just like to share a few slides with you to present you a few numbers and also put forward my arguments. Okay, so as I've already explained, I'm working for the European Patent Office. Our office has been designed so that with one single application, you can get patent protection in currently up to 44 countries, most of them in Europe. And the second task, which is of course also important, as you know, to make patent documents accessible, which usually are published around 18 months after the submission of the publication. So which is a very key role that we have to make that knowledge available to all of you and free of charge, of course, because the mission of our office is, of course, to foster innovation, competitiveness, and economic growth in Europe, but also worldwide. So as you see, we have very ambitious goals and a very ambitious mission. And why we know that universities and also public research organizations are important is, first of all, they are a very important group of users of our system. And just to present you a number, around 5 to 10% of the patent applications that we receive per year come from universities and public research organizations around the world. So we're talking about almost 10,000 patent applications per year coming from universities and public research organizations, knowing that in some countries there is still the professor's privilege. So some patent applications are not filed in the name of the university, but rather in the name of the professor or the researcher. So the real number is even higher than that. Second, as you can see in the latest survey of the ASTP, which is Europe Association of Knowledge Transfer Professionals, when they have asked knowledge transfer offices in Europe, almost all of them said that they are investing in IP protection and consider IP management as one of their core tasks. And indeed, the majority of them, especially the technical universities and organizations, have reported of having filed at least one patent applications in the respective year they were asked about. So as you can see, we have both universities and PROs are a very important group of organizations that are relying on our patent system. And second, we know that patents are important vehicles or means of universities and public research organizations. Therefore, we have conducted a survey 2 years ago in 2019 about those inventions for which patent applications has been filed in our office, with the purpose of, first of all, of course, monitoring the commercial exploitation. We just wanted to understand of those patents that we received from universities and PROs, how many of them actually reached the market and were exploited commercially. We also wanted to understand what were the real motives. So why are universities and PROs, or maybe their technology transfer offices, why are they actually filing for patent protections? What is the main purpose for them? And of course, what are the main needs and challenges that TTOs face when trying to exploit inventions that are protected by patents? Overall, we received or carried out around 650 interviews from 200 different European research institutions. So this is a pretty representative sample. And you can, of course, have a look at the full report. But I think for me, just to make my statement and also complement what Dr. Maria just said, I agree with all of the points that she made. Nevertheless, I just wanted to bring some evidence on the table. And first of all, discuss with you the motives that have been reported by the users of the European patent system. And as you can see, maybe on the first slide, not in a second, that 3 out of them are technology transfer motives. We have technology sale and licensing, which is the most important channel for technology transfer from universities. We have contract research and cooperation with industry partners. Around 66% admitted that they have a filing, they were maintaining patent protection because of that reason. And we have around 57% mentioning that the intention was to foster a spin-out, so the creation of a company based on industry from the university or research organization. And as you can see, the prevention from imitation is only placed second with 66%. So it's the patent transfer motive which is driving the use of the patent system by universities and PROs. What I also found interesting is, of course, the reputational motive. So it seems that for universities, it is important to show that they are participating in that sphere, so that they are filing patents, because I guess that there are many indicators where the patent activity of universities play a role. What I also found interesting is if you compare the first motive, so the technology sale and licensing, to the spin-off motive, we have a difference of around 23 percentage points, which is a significant difference. And in principle, while doing the interviews, we've tried to understand what is the reason why. I guess some of you already know, but for me, it was important to understand that it seems that technology sale and licensing, this channel is preferred by many technology transfer offices because the spin-off is, the creation of a spin-off is often involves much more risk. So it is very uncertain whether the spin-off will indeed reach the market and be successful afterwards. Second, through the technology sale and licensing, you can get revenues, and that might be one of the criteria for the TTO, that it is self-funded. So you need revenues, therefore you might prefer to have technology sales or licensing. And of course, we know that the spin-off creation, and as mentioned by Dr. Maria, requires a lot of business development skills, which sometimes might not be available at the TTO. So the preference might be often in favor of a licensing agreement. The second core outcome of our survey is, of course, the usage rate, or what we call the success rate of the inventions that are protected by patents, which have been applied with the EPO. And as you can see, more than 1/3, or 36%, reported that they have been successfully exploited commercially. So this is a significant number, as came out when talking to experts at TTOs. And what is also encouraging is that around 42% had already planned exploitation. So there was no success in itself, but there was a dynamic, and there was the expectation that might come to a successful deal, maybe in a few years or at a later stage. So just to sum up, first of all, I think patenting is very important for a technology transfer, and universities are patenting a large number and using the patent system extensively, as you can see in the numbers. And what was also an important, let's say, point of evidence for us was that a large share of the patents that are applied with our patent office indeed are used commercially and exploited commercially. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Ilya. Bien, dos mundos absolutamente unidos, ¿no es cierto?, pero distintos en tamaño, y obviamente a un país como el nuestro, Chile, ¿no es cierto?, apenas 20 millones de personas, ¿no es cierto?, pero hemos ido avanzando y justamente buscamos exactamente lo mismo, a través de la transferencia, mejorar la calidad de vida de nuestros ciudadanos, y ese es un tema relevante. Yo voy a partir por un par de preguntas a la doctora Turchi y después a India. Mencionó algo que nosotros usamos, ¿no es cierto?, la famosa mención TLR, ¿no es cierto? ¿Ya? Nosotros esperamos estar en promedio en nuestra universidad entre 2 y 4, ¿no es cierto? E intentamos llegar a ese nivel 9, idílico, en términos de su comercialización. Estamos muy lejos de eso, pero eso también abre una brecha y oportunidad. Habló un tema relativo, y a mí me interesa mucho esta relación entre universidad-empresa o centro de, ¿no es cierto?, de investigación. Al menos en Chile puedo decir en promedio que hay poca confianza entre los dos, en términos prácticos, a pesar de que tenemos instrumentos, por ejemplo, de apoyo tributarios, como dije al inicio, una ley de incentivo tributario para quien, ¿no es cierto?, se involucra en estos temas, pero la verdad es que es baja esa relación. Estamos recién en las etapas, justamente, estos meses, con éxito, en tratar de transferir tecnología desarrollada en los últimos 6 años a grandes empresas, por ejemplo, en el tema maderero. ¿Podrías explicar un poquito más, María Zaira, cuál es tu experiencia en relación a esta relación empresa y centros de investigación o universidad?
Thank you for the question, Dr. Arnaldo. If I understood well, you would like to know how the experiences we have, the successful or not successful experience we have considering patents in universities and companies, this relationship. Is that the question? I understood well?
That is the question, yeah.
Okay. Look, I think we, some years ago, I'm also professor at the university, Federal University of Goiás, and the beginning was something really that we had to convince professors and all the community at the university the importance of having offices to deal with this and to foster the possibility of having innovation, patents, and making this bridge, this communication with companies. I think in this moment, we are not in this point anymore. Things at the university now are more structured in a convergence, in a system that gives possibility of this dialogue, of this communication. And we have very successful cases. If you consider, for example, some universities like Unicamp, the University of the city of Campinas in the state of São Paulo, they have their Innova Unicamp Innovation Agency. And it's international recognized for its excellence in teaching and research, the University of Campinas. And also it was the first university that created a specific agency, Unicamp Innovation Agency, which became the first technology transfer office to be established in a Brazilian university. Now, today they employ more than 50 people. Innova's goals is to strengthen partnership between Unicamp and companies, government agencies, and other organizations to create teaching and research opportunities that will contribute to the economic and social development of Brazil, considering innovation. So now they have many patents, many important products that were able to go to industry because of the work of this specific office, this specific agency. Like Unicamp, you have also USP, very successful. The university in the state of Minas Gerais also, Federal University of Minas Gerais, Federal University of Viçosa, and they are much aware, and they are really being able to make this way toward technology transfer and patents. And I think we also need, and we have some legal framework, because the legal framework is very important for the universities to feel comfortable. The intellectual property has to be really dealt with in a proper way, with a proper regulation, in order to have really confidence of both parts to work together. But I think with these universities that I mentioned, and also others, we moved forward in Brazil in a very good way. We improved the possibility of registering patents, and also having the results, the social and economic benefits of this contribution between universities and companies.
Muchas gracias. Bueno, puedo dar fe porque mencionó algunas áreas y universidades que he tenido la suerte de conocer. Solo para dar un ejemplo, una universidad en Minas Gerais produce anualmente patentes más que todo Chile. Esa es una realidad, por lo tanto lo menciono porque creo que la dimensionalidad es súper importante. Pero sin embargo, ¿no es cierto? Es importante el tema del modelo que se usa, porque en general los problemas de nuestras sociedades son relativamente similares, pero menciona al final algo súper importante: el marco regulatorio, el marco legal. Para nosotros como universidad pública es una gran barrera, porque nos ponen en situaciones distintas, porque una empresa, ¿no es cierto?, privada funciona bajo otro marco, y nosotros intentamos, ¿no es cierto?, usar, ¿no es cierto?, o intentar llegar a ello. Pero voy a volver, doctora, un poquito más tarde, después de hacerle un par de preguntas a Ilya también. Ilya, tengo un par de preguntas asociadas a este tema que yo insinué en la introducción. ¿Cómo crees tú que el COVID y la pandemia va a afectar, o qué industrias se van a ver beneficiadas? Porque la verdad es que hay que hablar de cifras antes de la pandemia y cifras después de la pandemia. Sin duda que hay efectos en otros sectores industriales, pero en el tuyo específicamente, ¿cómo prevén, asumiendo que esto no va a continuar por 10 años más, asumamos que nosotros en unos años más tenemos una situación relativamente normal, es un supuesto?
So thank you. It's a very interesting question. Basically, what I see is, well, the question can be answered in two ways. So first of all, of course, we look at the numbers. So we can observe what are the applicants doing, how do they behave during the year, and we have the statistics for 2020, and it seems that the numbers did not go down significantly. There was a short drop, but then the numbers recovered again. So it seems that the system is in high demand as it was before. So here I don't see a change in general. Now, when it comes to universities, it also doesn't seem that there was any change, at least not short term. And I think that it will also continue for the future, because what the pandemic showed is that technology will become more and more important. And just to give you an example, so as you can see, you and I, we're both at home and actually working and participating here, which also means that we rely on technology, and the whole organization as the PO, and I have to admit that the PO has to be conservative because we are dealing with legal issues, of course, and nevertheless, we are incorporating new technologies. So I think that the patent system will not be affected by the pandemic itself. Of course, there are different discussions of, let's say, what is the role of patent protection during the pandemic when it comes to pharmaceuticals and when it comes to medical technologies. So we are processing patents, so I cannot share any opinion on that. So we're not part of that discussion, and in a way the discussion is beyond us. But the only thing that I wanted to say in general, that the pharmaceutical and the biotech sector are very, very R&D intensive, as you know, and they are always also very IP intensive. In the sense that these are sectors that rely a lot on patent protection. Just to give an example of a company, usually if you want to have a medical product or a drug out, you have to go through years of research and developments, of testing, of approval rounds. And if you cannot protect your investments during that time, for example, through patents, then it might be difficult to have the right incentives later on. Also, when it comes to collaboration between universities and companies, we know that patents are a very important vehicle for collaboration, because as already Maria says, there are two different worlds that are coming together. We have the academia with their incentives, with their work of operation, and we have the motives and the incentives of the industry. And if you want to cooperate, which we all want, because we want to have technology transfer from university, then we have to find a mode of operation that brings both worlds together. And in a way, we as the EPO see ourselves in the middle by providing this service, because through patents, for example, you can decide what happens with the IP. You can distribute the rights. You can decide whether you want to jointly own the IP, or whether the IP should be owned by the company which has the business, let's say, capabilities and resources to exploit it. And to give maybe just one example of a very interesting way how a technology transfer office from Vienna has used patents to spur, let's say, different modes of technology transfer. In the beginning, they have cooperated with a private company, Ivoclar, on developing additive manufacturing technology to print ceramics. Okay, so this is something new because it's a new material and they had to develop new techniques, and they cooperated. However, the technology transfer office negotiated in the beginning that the joint IP that they produce, that the exclusive rights would be kept by the private partner, but only for their area of operation, which is the dental sector, which means in all other areas, they agreed that the company Ivoclar would be only participate in potential revenue from licensing activities, which gave actually the researchers at the university side the possibility to start their own company, Litots. And that company became actually a market leader in printing of ceramics through additive manufacturing, but not in the dental area. So at the end, you have something which actually a kind of a two parts technology transfer from the original cooperation partner and later on through a spin out. And that was only possible because they were able to contract based on the patents, and basically were using the patent system for the advantage of the society.
Muchas gracias. Y efectivamente hice la consulta respecto a las tendencias, porque en el caso nuestro, vuelvo a repetir, las diferencias son notables en términos de tamaño, pero aquí la pandemia se ha notado en el sentido de menos recursos para investigación y desarrollo. Y eso es sin duda una limitación que nos tiene complicado especialmente a universidades estatales, públicas, que reciben fondos estatales y nos hacen competir con universidades privadas, digamos, bajo las mismas reglas, ¿ya? Entonces, si los fondos eventualmente fueran los mismos, compiten más por esos mismos fondos. En términos prácticos, hay menos para cada universidad. Entonces, comento esto porque para nosotros la forma de sobrevivir es justamente externalizar y apalancar recursos externos, ¿ya? Ahora, lo interesante es, como tú mencionas, es la forma que puede tomar esta relación, digamos, ¿eh? Naturalmente, el marco legal, incluso el marco cultural es importante en esto. A veces uno se olvida de la cultura, que justamente refleja muchas de las cosas que aparecen, porque entenderás sin conocer mucho, ¿no es cierto?, que la cultura en un país donde tú vienes, que Alemania es absolutamente distinta a la nuestra, a pesar de que nosotros tenemos herencia, ¿no es cierto?, alemana, así como tiene Brasil herencia también suiza, ¿no?, en varias partes, ¿no? Esas cosas son súper importantes porque muchas de estas cosas, ¿no es cierto?, tienen ese impacto. Me gustaría volver a María y preguntarle cuáles serían sus sugerencias. No olvidar que esta audiencia es de universidades en general, ¿no es cierto?, o centros de investigación, centros de desarrollo y toda la nomenclatura que nosotros quisiéramos entender en términos de relacionarse. ¿Cuáles serían las barreras o cuáles serían los tips sugerentes, digamos, para avanzar en estos temas? ¿Cuál podría ser algunas ideas?
Thank you. Very good question. Certainly, there are barriers. We are trying to face the challenges we have on this sense. Certainly, what Leah said regarding patents, we have to protect patents because it's a way to protect intellectual property. And if we consider products of the pharmaceutical industry, this is really something very sensible, very, we have to really look at this with a very well-planned possibility of developing the country. So what I think that are the barriers is, first of all, to have, as I said, really a good legal framework, to consider the necessity of protect patents and products, and to consider proper intellectual property. Otherwise, the investment made by both sides, either government or companies or private resources, can not. You have to consider the funding and the necessity of money to develop this. So we have to have a very well structured convergence of goals. We have to talk about mission-oriented projects. We have, considering the development of the country and the regions, we have to look at the possibilities of collaboration and the issues regarding patents and intellectual property, considering mission important goals, mission-oriented for social and economic development of the country. So this is really, I believe, the most difficult barrier, because funding are not easier for universities. Usually universities and public universities can develop research with public money, with funding of the agencies. So we have to consider this. They don't have other possibility to foster and to develop science and technology. And the universities, and here in Brazil, the public universities are the ones that do more science and technology. And so as CNPq, us here at the National Council, we are responsible for funding very good projects as science at the really at the frontier of knowledge, and also to maintain science and technology going on in our labs, different labs at the university. So this is something that costs money, important money for the universities, important funds. And we have to consider also the possibility to doing this collaboration and improving our possibilities of transforming science knowledge in patents and products in the companies, something that can give benefits for both sides. So we have to be well structured. We have to disseminate the culture of patent. I believe that we didn't do this so well yet. We consider that this is a task of the agency of CNPq to contribute in developing and disseminating this culture of the importance of intellectual property. So I would say like a literacy. We have to learn more, and we have to explain the importance, and we have to organize the system, considering that the national STI system involves universities, where the research and where science and technology occurs more, and also all the other actors, companies, agencies that are involved. I think these are the main barriers that we have to look at them and to go through them in order to move better in this field. I hope I answered you, but if I did not, please, I can continue to discuss this topic.
Sí, María, obviamente estos tópicos son muy amplios, tienen varias aristas y lecturas, y uno basa fundamentalmente en su experiencia propia, ¿no es cierto? Y en este caso yo quiero solamente insistir, ¿no es cierto?, en que esta cantidad de recursos de tamaño también tiene que ver mucho con la demanda. Insisto en eso porque si uno ve esa maravilla de Brasil con solo el estado de Sao Paulo teniendo un PIB casi el triple que todo Chile, digamos, ¿no? Siempre hay que mantenerlo en términos de conocimiento, pero obviamente esos temas que plantea son absolutamente válidos y naturalmente nosotros también queremos participar de eso. Otro ejemplo práctico que recuerdo con mucho cariño, ¿no es cierto?, visitando el hospital israelita en Sao Paulo. Qué maravilla, o sea, cuando hablamos de innovación, ¿no es cierto?, ¿ya? Ellos ya llevan 20, 25 años en telemedicina, ¿no es cierto?, y hoy día hacen una transformación impresionante. El solo ver eso, uno dice, bueno, esto es posible, ¿no es cierto?, pero obviamente dijiste, creo que en la primera intervención, la importancia de conocer los territorios, y naturalmente no se puede decir Brasil es uno solo, absolutamente distinto el norte que el sur, el este que el oeste, son absolutamente distintos mundos, digamos, ¿eh? Lo veo que en Estados Unidos, básicamente cada estado es un país, con distintas reglas y regulaciones y leyes, así de simple. Mientras en uno, ¿no es cierto?, la edad de beber alcohol son 18 años, en otros 21. Y eso marca una diferencia notable. Así es que agradezco esto. Voy a hacer una consulta a Ilja y después pasaríamos a las eventuales, si es que estamos justamente en plazo. Nos dieron justamente 30 minutos para dar paso a la audiencia. Así es que quiero hacer un comentario, Ilja, y una consulta última en esta primera ronda. ¿Cómo prevés tú, a pesar de que ya mencionaste los efectos respecto a la pandemia, a pesar de que es una cosa general, yo no quiero hablar de países, tú representas a una institución, ¿no es cierto? la situación económica global que pudiese apoyar o no apoyar este continuo desarrollo? ¿Cómo lo ves ahora como organización? ¿Ah? No quiero que me hables de Italia o España, no, en general. ¿Cómo ve tu organización, ¿no es cierto?, esta situación de tipo económica global, asociada obviamente al tema que estamos discutiendo? ¿Me escuchas, Silvio?
Yes, was there a question direct to me, or because there was a
Yes.
translation? Sorry.
Yes, it was direct to you.
Okay, and just to understand the question, what is, in my view, from an economic perspective, the basically the impact of the pandemic? Or
Yes.
because I'm sorry, that was not clear to me.
Basically, from an economic point of view, in a general view.
So as I already said earlier, we don't really see an impact on, let's say, on the demand for patent protection, at least in the office, which means that there seems to be no negative effect if you take it as an indicator of innovation on the innovation activity. On the contrary, we rather see that especially for digital technologies and also in the maybe in the biotech sector, there's a huge demand and huge development and investments. Also, we see when it, let's say, when it comes to funding of startups, particularly deep tech startups, so the ones that are investing in R&D, we also see a huge uptake. So there are, especially in Europe now, which was indeed not the case 10 years ago, there's more and more investment in from venture capitalists, from business angels in particular European startups, and they are also very much interested in patent protection. So there is a study that shows that around 70% of deep tech startups are relying on patent protection, so have at least one patent application. So that would be, let's say, the innovation side, and what is for us and also important, the demand for patent protection. When it comes to, let's say, global value chains, here, but this is again my personal opinion and not the one from our organization, is that I do see some disruptions. So we are, I am based in Munich, and we have big car manufacturers here like BMW, and what they are facing now, they have an issue with their supply chains, and this is not hidden. This is they are very transparent on that. They cannot build cars because they are missing certain inputs. So to me, this is a kind of the risk that I see for the global economies, that there is a let's say there was a lot of integration of value change in the world for many, many decades. And now with the pandemic, the question is whether there will be some disruptions. But as I said, this is rather a personal observation. May I briefly also compliment what Maria just said, because I'm sorry for jumping on that, but I found it very fascinating, because I had very similar thoughts about the, let's say, the barriers that we see when it comes to, let's say, to technology transfer. And I think you made a very important point about the business side and also the mission orientations. Yeah? So you have to know from the start what is your target, and this is where you have to concentrate the resources in, especially if you, let's say, if they are limited and you have problems, and maybe this is marketing from our side, but especially when it comes to raising awareness about the role of IP. We have been facing that problem in Europe for also many, many decades. I think that the current level, at least from the survey that we see, that we see that a lot of the institutions, almost 80% of them or even more, have an IP or technology transfer policy, which is very good news, I think. But there was a very hard way, and we have provided a lot of training and many materials, and we're still working on that because we're trying to convince startups and spin-offs and also investors that patents are important and they should be at least thought about early on. And we have a lot of training materials, and just maybe to share a link that I have prepared so that people who are interested in, maybe they can have a look. I will share it. I think it's recorded 10 and 10. I'm sorry for crushing. So so at .epo.org learning, we have many events, many trainings for both sides, for researchers, but also self-paced learning, but also if you want to organize a lecture on IP management, IP policy of universities, what are the different IP rights, international protection, national protection, how to manage it, what should be the role of a technology transfer office. And in particular, we also prepared some case studies which describe technology transfer from the beginning at university until it reaches the market, and also describing what is the role of the TTO and what are the different choices that the actors, such as the researchers, such as the companies that are contributing, and the TTOs and universities have. We're trying to put it all together also in key messages. And if you're interested, so please have a look. And I'm sorry for jumping on the previous topic.
No, al contrario, muchas gracias a ambos por estas ideas, comentarios, percepciones, ¿no es cierto? Siguiendo con el calendario, tenemos 22 minutos para dar paso a un par de consultas de parte de la audiencia. Tenemos una, yo voy a ir dirigiendo dependiendo porque dice específicamente, había una respecto que se me perdió aquí. Voy a colocarla acá, por favor. Voy a leerla. Entendía que era, voy a buscar mi celular, porque era directamente hacia María Zaira la pregunta, y dice aquí, un saludo desde OBREAL, Brasil. La limitada autonomía de las universidades EU-LAC condiciona al menos en parte la contribución de la producción de patentes y su transferencia a la industria. ¿El modelo de la UNICAM sería entonces una forma de superarlo? ¿Y en los demás países? Esa sería la pregunta, María Zaida, o comentario.
Okay, thank you for the question. I could read it in Spanish here from Paulo Speller, I believe. It's a very good question. I think that the universities in Brazil, I cannot really talk about Latin American as a whole, because I know very well the universities in Brazil. Public federal universities and public universities, they do have some autonomy to deal with the all the what they are responsible in education, research, innovation, and all the activities that the universities are responsible to do in Brazil, what their missions in Brazil. I think they have certain autonomy. And something very interesting, I believe, that was created here in Brazil is what we call here NIT. NIT means Technological Innovation Nucleus. They are really, they are considered in our law, the law regarding innovation in Brazil. Considering this, all the universities have the possibility to have a NIT, and this NIT is responsible to help researchers to transform science in products, and mainly to help them to deal with patents and technology transfers. and technology transfer. And many of this need in the universities really big, like Unicamp, USP, were transformed in an innovation agency with a lot of really possibilities inside the university. Really a great capacity installed in this NEET or agencies of innovation that really are helping a lot in this process. And I believe, yes, Paulo, that Unicamp is really a good model that could be followed and actually has a good influence in other universities. But we have also a very good experience in, as I said, in Federal University of Minas Gerais, USP, and also in universities, because Brazil, as Dr. Arnaldo said, is a huge country, and we have to consider all the difference, regional difference, and potentialities. They are different, and we have to work at this regional level in order to help the development of the region. So university at the Nordeste of Brazil, Northeast, has different challenges than a university in São Paulo regarding patents, technology transfer, but certainly has specific goals in order to achieve development for the region. And yes, I believe that Unicamp is a very good model to be followed, but certainly we have to adapt to region conditions, regional potentialities, expectations, and so that's why capacity building is very, very much important. And having specialized offices as agencies, niches in the universities is really a great help.
Muchas gracias, María. Hay una segunda pregunta y creo que le voy a dar el paso a Ilja. ¿Consideran, de parte de César, dice, consideran que las estrategias de evaluación de investigadores han influenciado las actitudes que estos tienen para elegir o realizar patentes, patentamiento en general?
I'm sure it has. I mean, this is just another incentive to raise awareness. Of course, if you know that you're evaluated on a particular indicator, then you make sure that you at least know what it is and know how to achieve it. So I think yes. I'm not saying that this is the best, let's say, incentive mechanism, but I'm sure it has its value and can work. It can work as well. Maybe to complement the point, and especially given what Dr. Maria just said, I also think that building capacity is very important, especially knowing it. I think this is what I showed in the numbers in the beginning of the presentation, that patents, let's say, filing for patents is not a means in its end. It's only a mechanism that facilitates technology transfer, but the final goal that you want to achieve is that technology is reaching a market and creates a benefit for the economy and the society, of course. And I just found in the study, I think one of set of key results where we in particular asked those that already have patent protection. Why were they still not able to transfer the technology successfully? Okay, so the ones that were not successful, what were the reasons for them? And the main reason, or the main driver, and again, I have to to confirm what Maria just said, because I mean all the points they were very, very valid, is the proof of concept, because companies, they want to invest in something that is not risky. Of course, it's not possible because otherwise everybody want to do it. So they were trying to minimize the risk. And something which is still in the research stage or even in the development stage, this is still risky because you don't know what happens when you start testing it. You don't know whether you get the approvals, whether you are able to reach the market, etc. So this is very important. And this is one, or maybe the most important determinant of whether a patented, and then talking about patented technology, can reach the market or not, and this is the proof of concept. So you have to have something that is implementable, and the closer you are, and now we're coming back to the TLR, technology readiness level of the technology, as Maria said at the beginning, this is indeed is confirmed in the data. And maybe one last point, because we also asked those that were successful, what were the main barriers for them? And I just wanted to show you the two main barriers, because I think that this is something where everyone can work on, and I think this is also something that that one can improve. And I'm just sharing the slides so you can also see it, that I'm not just inventing the numbers, but let's see it also on the screen. So basically, as you can see here, the most important barriers to technology transfer is, first of all, the cost and complexity of negotiations. And here we're coming back to the problem between the academia and the industry. We have two different worlds with two different, often different, or at least perceived differences in missions. And also basically what happens once the IP is created. This is sometimes very difficult to condition on because the industry wants, of course, to make money, and the academia, maybe they have other goals, as you know, and to bring that together in an agreement, this is very hard work for technology transfer offices. Basically to translate and to find a compromise between the interests. And as you can see also here in numbers, this is one of the main barriers to basically, even if there is interest, and as you can see, the interest is not the most important, let's say lack of interest is not the most important barrier. It's rather that finding a common ground for a contract and basically to complete the negotiations. The second most important one is identifying the right partners or contact persons. And indeed, we know from the survey that the most important source or way to find partners is personal networks, which also means if a university or TTO does not have the necessary network, then even if you have the best technology, it might not reach the market because you're not able to find the right partner. I think those two things are something that that one can work on, and I know that there is guidance for the European Commission, which has some recommendations how those two barriers can be overcome. And I think this two important aspects that I wanted to bring into the discussion.
Bien, muchas gracias. No tenemos más consultas. Estamos a 5 o 7 minutos. No sé si Daniela me autoriza a mostrar un par de gráficos. Solamente en todos estos temas aparecen los rankings. Aquí este es así como en el fútbol, así como en todo hay rankings. Y la verdad es que quiero mostrarles algunos que son bastante interesantes en el sentido de qué países son más exitosos, menos exitosos. El tema de equidad de género, como decía yo al inicio, es súper importante. Nosotros en Chile acabamos de ganar un proyecto bastante importante en la universidad nuestra, financiado por el Ministerio de Educación, que tiene que ver con cómo dar respuesta a las brechas que hay en equidad de género, por ejemplo, en I+D. Tenemos un programa bastante exitoso en ingeniería, por ejemplo, mujeres en ingeniería. Yo creo que este tema es otro tema que va a dar que hablar. Yo me hiciera, entonces, solo por favor, mostrar un par de gráficos, si me permiten, para... no los voy a analizar, solo quiero que ustedes estén al tanto porque son bastante actualizados. No sé si me están viendo por ahí. ¿Están viendo los gráficos? Naturalmente, perdí contacto, no sé si Daniela me puedes decir si estás viendo los gráficos.
No, señor, no se ven.
¿Tengo que compartir pantalla o tú me das el pase?
Tienes que compartir pantalla, sí, señor.
A ver si ahí tengo éxito. Parece que ahí sí.
Ya se ven, sí, señor.
Sí. Perfecto. Naturalmente, no es ninguna sorpresa, ¿no es cierto?, que China aparezca en primer lugar. No es ninguna sorpresa, ¿no es cierto? Y después de Estados Unidos. Por favor, solo los voy a mostrar muy rápido. Las economías más innovadoras en el 2021. Esto es bastante moderno, ¿no es cierto? Aquí aparece obviamente los países del sudeste asiático, obviamente Europa, ¿no es cierto? Y dentro de algún contexto latino, Chile no aparece tan mal, por decirlo así. ¿Ah? No aparece tan mal. ¿No? Naturalmente está todo normalizado. ¿Dónde existen más mujeres emprendedoras? Aquí sí que nos llevamos una sorpresa. Aquí nos llevamos una agradable sorpresa en Chile, ¿no es cierto? ¿No? Excelente. ¿No? Entonces estamos bien orientados, ¿no es cierto? Como decía María Ilga, ¿ah? ¿Cuál es el foco? ¿Hacia dónde pretendemos? ¿Ya? A lo mejor eso muestra el éxito que tuvimos en esta adjudicación de este proyecto de más de $2,5 millones, ¿cierto? Que intente justamente esa brecha, ¿ah? Articularla en el sentido de disminuirla. Por lo tanto, hoy día en Chile cualquier proyecto que lleve equidad de género y territorial, créanme que tiene prioridad sobre cualquier otro. Y lo digo con experiencia porque administramos todos los proyectos institucionales, ¿ah? En I+D, I+D más I más E, más TT, todas las denominaciones que ustedes quieran. Así es que este nos deja bastante bien. Los países más innovadores en Latinoamérica, Chile, sorpresa, ¿no es cierto? ¿Ah? No voy a discutir la metodología porque aquí cualquiera diría, bueno, hay que conocer la metodología, ¿no es cierto? ¿Ah? Es como las encuestas de opinión que hacen los que tienen sus propias fundaciones. Aparece el dueño de la empresa con la mejor puntuación, ¿no? Esto no lo mandé a hacer yo, digamos, ¿no? ¿No? Pero solamente darle mérito a mi equipo de la OTL, ¿no es cierto?, que lidera esto dentro de nuestra, y me pasó estos gráficos que pueden ser sumamente interesantes. Los países líderes en I+D, tal como decía yo en términos de el porcentaje de PIB, ¿no es cierto?, naturalmente, tal como dije al inicio, 0,4% nos deja fuera de toda competencia, absolutamente fuera, y se confirma lo que habíamos dicho, ¿no es cierto?, de que en general en los países de la OCDE estamos alrededor del 2,4% del PIB. Eso hay que verlo de dos puntos de vista, la parte positiva, la parte negativa. La parte negativa es el índice, la parte positiva es que hay brecha, hay posibilidad, hay oportunidad. Por eso es que esperamos nosotros que, ¿no es cierto?, el Estado fundamentalmente, que financia en el caso chileno mayoritariamente I+D, ¿no es cierto?, nos siga apoyando, ¿no? Esto no es lo mismo en todos los países. En otras partes, obviamente, los privados financian gran parte de esta investigación, ¿no? En Estados Unidos, todos los grandes centros de investigación se han formado al alero de universidades, pero financiados por empresas. Uno de los más, ¿no es cierto?, exitosos, ¿no es cierto?, la Kellogg School of Management, ¿no es cierto? ¿Ya? Entonces dice, bueno, claro, una empresa que fabrica cereales, ¿no es cierto?, financia todo un desarrollo al alero de una tremenda universidad. Estoy dando solamente un ejemplo. ¿Ah? Naturalmente Brasil sigue muy de cerca el modelo americano, ¿no es cierto?, muy de cerca, ¿ya? Y nosotros queremos acercarnos de alguna forma. Creo, Daniela, que hemos cumplido perfectamente en timing, nos quedan 3-4 minutos para palabras de cierre de ustedes. Yo me despido de estos dos grandes expertos, un placer haberlos acompañado, agradecerle a la audiencia, a mi equipo de la Universidad del Biobío y a los 5 países que han estado hoy día presentes, como fueron Brasil, Colombia, Alemania, México, Perú y obviamente Chile. A esta hora ya no es suficiente con un café colombiano, yo les ofrezco una copa de vino Cabernet, ¿no es cierto?, o Carmener chileno, ¿ya? para hacerle promoción también a nuestro país. Si es chileno, es bueno. Ese es nuestro eslogan. Muchas gracias, Luis.
Doctor Arnaldo, muchísimas gracias a usted por su excelente moderación. Aprovecho para agradecer la participación de todos los que nos acompañaron el día de hoy por Zoom y YouTube y a quienes han estado presentes en cada una de las 4 sesiones anteriores del ciclo de Cafés Mimir Andino. Un agradecimiento especial a los expertos, la doctora María Zaira Turchi, al doctor Ilja Rudik y al doctor Arnaldo Helves. Ha sido un espacio muy enriquecedor que servirá de guía para muchas instituciones de diferentes países. Agradecemos también a los organizadores OBREAL Global, a la Fundación EU-LAC y por supuesto a nuestra casa, la Asociación Colombiana de Universidades. Esperamos se hayan cumplido los objetivos de este ciclo de Cafés Mimir Andino, que buscaban generar ideas alrededor de la implementación del modelo de gestión de la investigación y la innovación que venimos desarrollando en el proyecto. Ofrecer un espacio de relacionamiento para el liderazgo en investigación y generar espacios de reflexión internacionales en contextos económicos y políticos diferentes. Lamentamos los inconvenientes técnicos o de traducción que se hayan podido presentar durante la sesión y los invitamos a seguir el proyecto Mimir Andino en su página web www.mimirandino.org y en la página web y redes sociales de la Asociación Colombiana de Universidades ASCUN, que ya quedarán escritas en el chat. Las grabaciones de cada una de las sesiones del ciclo de Cafés Mimir Andino las encontrarán colgadas en la página web del proyecto y bueno, todas nuestras redes sociales o más bien en la página web y canal de YouTube de la Asociación Colombiana de Universidades. Acá les presentamos los conversatorios que realizamos durante todo este ciclo y bueno, como lo decía el doctor Arnaldo, sigamos tomando café colombiano todas las mañanas y el vino chileno y de muchos otros países que nos ofrecen una gran fortaleza y diversidad que queremos también mostrar y representar al público internacional y nacional. Entonces, muchas gracias a todos. Se cierra este ciclo de cafés, pero continuamos en el proyecto. Finalizaremos nuestro proyecto Mimir Andino en noviembre del 2022, así que acá seguimos muy atentos, mostrándoles los resultados y los avances. Esperamos el modelo de gestión de la innovación y la investigación sirva para muchas instituciones, muchos sistemas de educación superior de todos los países latinoamericanos. Mil gracias a todos. Ha sido un gusto compartir estos espacios con ustedes. Feliz día. Y un gran abrazo. Cuídense mucho.